Hey everyone, welcome back to iOSDevs. In the previous session, we have learned what is HTTP and how can we create URL request. In today's session, we will learn how to make a network request using URLSession and URLSessionDataTask. So let's begin. So what is URL session? A URL session is an object that coordinates group of related network data requests, which means every request we do in the iOS app is handled by the URL session. Now, that request we do, we call it as a task, but in iOS terms, it's called as a URL session task. So there are four types of tasks that you can perform, which is data, download, upload, and stream. Let's discuss each of them in detail. The first task is URL session data task, which is used to perform any HTTP request using get, post, delete kind of method. It is majorly used in the iOS app. The next is URL session download task, which you can use to download images and files from the server. The difference between data task and download task is in the data task, the data returned from the server directly stored into the memory. However, in the download task, it is directly stored into the file into the iOS app. The next is URL session upload task, which is used to uploading a file to a server. For example, uploading a picture in a social media app, we need to use upload task. And the last is URL session stream task, which is used to getting a continuous stream of data from the server. Accessing a music or a video files from the server are the example of the stream task. Each task is a subtask of URL session task. That means each of them will inherit the properties and methods from the URL session task. The most common task is URL session data task, so we'll only focus on that in this session. So let's see how can we use URL session and create URL session data task to make a network request. We will continue with our previous session in which we have created URL request. So now let's see how can we perform network request. For that, let me create a function. Let's say perform network request. So the very first thing we need to do is to create a request. We can call this function. Now let's see how can we create data task. So let data task equal to URL session dot share. So URL session is a singleton sad object which doesn't have any configuration for basic request. So it's not customizable, but it serves the good purpose for the basic kind of request. If we want to do the customization, we need to use URL session configuration here, but we will see that later in downloading the file section. So we can check this constructors. We'll use this request that we just created. Request, let's call the completion handler. It has three parameters. It has data, it has response, and it has error. So let's first check for the errors. So for example, if let error equal to error, will early exit from the program, so that means we need to write a return statement, but we will print the errors. So for example, here it is a data task error, so we can check for that. Now let's check if request succeeds, and for that we need to check response, and each response has a status code, and the 200 is code for the success, or let's say okay. So we need to check it here. So let's do that. Let's say HTTP response equals to response as HTTP response, and now check the status code. If it is, let's say, not 200, else will early exit from the program. And here let's print that that's a request failed. Let's check if we have received any data. For that, let's write data else return. We can write here like no data found. We can do better error handling, which we will learn in the next session. So now let's try to get the JSON. For that, we need to use JSON serialization. So let's use that JSON object with the data and options. Let's print the JSON. But before that, we need to start the task. Till now, we have just prepared the data task, but we need to start it, and to do that, we can call data task dot resume. Now if we call this method from, let's say, outside, perform network request, and let's run it. So we have successfully retrieved the JSON. So in this session we have learned how to do network request using URL session and URL session data task. Thank you.